Welcome to Rick's Corner. We had talked about steroids in part 3 and part 2 and part 1. Now we're on part 4. And I discussed the steroids in the actually 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, got a little bit to 90s, and now I'm going forward to more. So we talked about DECA, we talked about testosterone, Anavar, Dianabol, Equipoise, Balasterone, all the above. There's so many nowadays that these were just a few that were popular back then. Over the past, oh my God, I think 10 or 15 years, they've really advanced big time. I told you that I had taken growth hormone that came from a human cadaver that I got at actually a Save-On pharmacy written by a prescription from a friend of mine that was a doctor, that I made great results in 1 week. That was the human stuff, which is not available now. Of course, it's all synthetic. And I think it's called Serostem. Now, growth hormone is still considered a steroid according to my doctor, but it also reacts a little bit differently because it makes everything in the body grow when you take it, not just muscle, but bone, or not necessarily bone. I think it does in younger kids, but organs, for example. It will make all your organs inside get large as well as your muscle. And if you have any cancer, it'll speed it up. If you have any tumors, it'll speed it up. Anything that's good will grow, anything that's bad will grow. So it's not a good thing to take for that reason. Now, recently I had my heart checked. I had irregular heartbeats, I think I mentioned that came from, we're not quite sure what, maybe stress, maybe caffeine. But the big thing is they gave me an echogram. My heart was enlarged. It was very, very thick, and the walls were very, very thick. And that came not only from lifting heavy weights, but also came from growth hormone, because not only does it enlarge your muscle, it enlarges your heart. Your heart can get so large it doesn't have room to beat in your cavity. It can restrict it, and it can be a real problem. Now, the doctor told me that later in life, having a thick heart or a large heart like that tends to make the body of it stiff, and it can cause a heart attack. So these are things with GH that I don't think are reversible. Once it's up in size, it stays in size because it is a muscle. Now, in your body, when you train your muscles, you see your muscles go up and down in size, probably because of your diet, your training, or whatever you're taking, whatever you go off of. I'm not sure about the organs. I was told that they stay. That pretty much scares me from ever doing it again. And I hardly did that much. I did anywhere from 1 IUs to 2 IUs 4 times a week. Some of the pros are doing 10 IUs a day. I tried 4 a day, which actually did work pretty well as far as muscle growth and being cut. But I don't want to do that anymore. I just don't think it's worth to have the internal problems that I could have. And I'm kind of skeptical about the guys today who do so much of it, that are so huge at 300 pounds. You can see their stomachs are all distended from not just the abs and all that, but from inside where the organs grow. They can't even do a vacuum pose anymore, which was huge back in the 60s and 70s. The vacuum was big to suck your stomach in. So growth hormones can cause all those things. Now, the other thing that they do is they lace it with insulin, which is for diabetics. Insulin is an amino acid, but it also promotes growth. When you mix testosterone and you mix the growth hormone and insulin all together, it's like a cocktail that will make you explode. I mean, you'll definitely get huge on it. But you're toying with the fact that you might become a diabetic. It's not worth it. Because to be a diabetic and shorten your life and have diabetes the rest of your life just because of getting big, it's not worth it. You'll suffer. So my feelings are to stay away from it. Your feelings are what they are. And now, some of you had written comments to me and saying, you're pro steroid and you're telling the young kids to use it. No, I'm not, and you know I'm not, so don't even accuse me of that, because that's bullshit. I don't promote this stuff. I'm just giving you the facts as I've seen them, as I've used them, and it's for you to gain some knowledge from it. So, don't accuse me. I don't like it. Now, Synthol is another one. There's one bodybuilder, I don't know his name, I've seen pictures of him that use Synthol. Synthol is a fatty substance that you inject into the muscle, and it blows it up, and you can shape it somewhat, but it's phony. It's not a muscle. It's like chicken fat or lard or some substance like that, and it has to be injected almost every day. After so many days, it starts to form and makes your biceps and your triceps and whatever part you put in it makes it huge. The problem with that is it breaks down. If it's a fatty substance, it can get in your bloodstream. So if it gets in your bloodstream and it goes through your arteries, it can cause a clot. And then if it causes a clot, it can cause a stroke. So it's not safe to use, and plus it looks horrible. The guys I've seen on Synthol, they're way out of proportion. They can't even flex it because you can't flex fat. You can only flex muscle. So I'll post a picture up here so you can see what it is, but it's pretty gross looking. And it has nothing to do with strength. It has nothing to do with muscle quality or any of the above. So I'd stay away from Synthol. So we're up to the new age, and it's growth hormone, it's insulin, it's Synthol, It's still testosterone. It's still DECA. They still do those same old standbys. There's so many substances out there that are available on black market. I've been guilty of buying them myself. I've been lucky enough to buy some stuff that I know that's real, but I've also bought some stuff that's not. And I did buy some growth hormone. It didn't do a thing for me. At $450 a box, it's a lot of money to waste. And you can't tell. I mean, it's packaged so well nowadays that you don't know what's real and what's not. So you've got to be very, very careful of what you buy. I don't know how to tell you to find out what it's real or not. You just have to trust whoever you get it from, that they're telling you the truth. And 90% of the time, they're not. Sad to say. The labels are usually phony looking. They have weird names on them. There was one called Hypertrophy, which I know wasn't real, and it was a label that was just like homemade off a computer. But it was packaged in a bottle like everything else. I took that, didn't get anything out of it. Nothing. It was like taking vegetable oil. I heard that Winstrol V, it's a milky substance that they were using. I think I told you this. Armor All in it. My God, you want to inject Armor All into your body? Oh, you can't imagine. That might make you shiny. That's about it. So it's available. Just be careful if you take it, and be careful who you get it from, and make sure that they're trustworthy. You can buy it down in Mexico over the counter, but if you get caught at the border, you're going to do jail. I had friends have done it. They've been arrested. It's not worth it. Just not worth it. My advice is, if you're going to do this at all, go to a doctor, get checked out, get a physical, make sure you can take it. I've talked to 3 people in the past week that had the same thing I had from taking testosterone. They had levels of high red blood cells, which can cause blood clots. It's a thickening of the blood, and they have to drain it off once a month. Like a pint, my friend had to get 3 pints drained off last month because the red blood cells were so high from testosterone that it was starting to clot on them. So that's another thing to be aware of. You got to have physicals, and you got to be honest with your doctor what you're doing, because if you're not, you're only fooling yourself and you're wasting their time. So that's my take on steroids part 4. However, I have a couple of people scheduled to come in and discuss this even more on parts 5 and maybe even part 6. People with names and people who have trained for years. I have a friend I'm going to bring in who's was on dialysis for 6 years or 7 years, and he just got a kidney transplant last year, but he's been on the juice through the whole thing, and his doctor says he recovered miraculously on what he was taking. So who knows? I mean, it did help him heal. I tore both quads off in 2001, and I told the doctor, he said I healed in half the time. Well, I was taking tests, and I took a little GH, and it helped my quads heal. All right, for that purpose, it worked, but it doesn't work for everybody. So stay tuned when I bring my guests in, because you're going to learn more from these guys, not just from me. I think we need other opinions other than mine. Mine's only what I can relate from experience, but they'll have other experiences. And keep the comments coming in. And if they're good comments, I love them. If they're bad comments, I'll deal with them, and I'll tell you where you're wrong, or if I'm right, or you're right, or whatever. I'll be honest with you. And thanks for watching Rick's Corner. Stay tuned, buddy.